At Lifehack Coaching, we help women over 35 to balance hormones naturally, boost metabolism, and lose weight sustainably.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my podcast. Today I've got Brigitte with me and I'm really looking forward to this. Brigitte has just finished 16 weeks program of coaching with me, and what I love about her journey is that it was not about chasing quick wins or quick results. We were working on understanding her body, building habits that actually stick, and getting out of that consistent cycle of starting again on Monday. She showed up, she stayed consistent, asked the right questions, and did the work, that everyone doesn't like doing, and learned quite a bit about what works with her body, what is good, what's not so good for her, what makes her feel good. And now she's in a completely different place. On top of all of that, she managed to lose some weight as well. And it's good to see her being in a different place mentally around food, about routines, and also about different place with habits as well. So Brigitte, thank you so much for being here and being open to share your experience, because so many women are exactly where you are not long ago. And I believe it's very empowering and encouraging to see others sharing their stories and their results, because in nowadays you don't actually know who to believe with all AI fake stuff happening everywhere. So it's good to have real people on podcasts so other women can actually see that things are working and you can achieve results that you're after. So before starting the program, tell me, what was going on? Where were you at? Why did you reach out? How were you feeling in your body? And what were you struggling with?
Yeah. Well, I guess physically, I had a knee operation like nearly 2 years ago. And so for me, I couldn't go to the gym like I used to. Like, I was gaining weight, stuff that I'd tried before wasn't working. And I knew, that sort of 80-90% is diet. I needed to try and sign up to something or do something in order to shift the weight. But I think it was also about my energy. My clothes were getting tighter with that limited exercise that I used to do. I tried different things that I usually tried that worked, and it just wasn't working for me. So I needed help.
What was the breakthrough moment? Like, when did you decide that, like, what happened? Did you stand on scales? Did you suddenly look in the mirror? Like, what was it? There's always a moment. Favorite pair of jeans don't fit anymore. Or I remember when, I think it was after my first child, I was kind of in denial because I was always on the smaller side, but I've gained quite a bit of weight and I was over 100 kilos. And I kept giving myself excuses like, oh, I just had a baby, my hips got bigger, that's why I can't fit in my clothes. And then one time I was walking in the mall and I saw a reflection in the glass, and I didn't even think it was me until I realized it was me. And I was just like, no, this is not me. And I was under 70 kilos before, so it's like extra 30 kilos on top of. So I looked very different. And that was kind of the moment for me. I was like, oh no, my hips didn't just get bigger. I think I'm carrying a bit of extra weight here. That was
Yeah.
mine. What was yours?
I think it was definitely, that look in the mirror, the clothes, just, I guess, things getting tighter and just, being at a point where, like, I don't want to be, there's a cost of buying a whole new wardrobe. I started to have to buy clothes at that next size up. And I was kind of like, that's okay, because I'm never like someone who's too fussed about sizes and, they vary so much. But I think it was just, like I'd got to a point where I was like, I need a fix. I need something, more to help.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when we had our consultation, and compared to where you are now, you made quite a big shift and big change in your nutrition and in your lifestyle. And I even remember thinking, and I didn't tell you that at the start, I'm thinking, nah, she's not going to sign up. Like, it's such a big shift for her. She's going to feel very uncomfortable. And then when it's like, no, I want to do it. I'm like, really? Uh, I did, I was like, wow, it's going to be so challenging. And I was like, okay, that's good. That challenging is good. And I was so excited when you start making all these changes. I was like, wow, it just feels so good for me to see that even though your habits were so ingrained and you've lived with your habits for such a long time, you were willing to make a change and try. And it was really good to see. And I mean, some people have really quick results from the start. Your one was very consistent, but wasn't like straight away in your face. So it took a while to get the wheels spinning.
Mhm.
Yeah, you did it. And I'm so proud of you. And, I hope you can take all this knowledge with you and carry on living this lifestyle and not going back to the old habits, because that's the one thing I see a lot happening is that people do, coaching or do challenges or do diets or whatever, and then they stop and go back to old habits thinking like, well, I did it, so now I'm safe. I'm not going to gain weight back up again and I'm not going to feel terrible. But there's no magic pill. There's no diet. There's no amount of things you can do that will stop you from gaining weight back up again if you don't carry on the living healthier lifestyle. Unfortunately, there's nothing will kind of prevent from that happening again. So at what point did things start to feel different for you? Like not just physically, but even mentally with your
Yeah.
habits?
Yeah. I mean, I obviously made the decision to join you just before Christmas, which was probably a bit like, wow, oh my God, like, Christmas is coming. And I'm like, yeah, well, do it now, kind of like there's no greater time than right now. So I think that just like eating consistently, like not skipping lunches, because, quite often I would sit down and just do work. And then, it would be like 4 o'clock and I haven't had lunch. And so I guess there was no planning. I was hungry in the afternoon, doing terrible snacking. And, I think those habits were really bad. And so once I started on the journey with you, I think a huge thing was my energy. Like, I just noticed a shift in my energy.
Yeah.
Why the weight was going down, like gradually. And then I think clothes started fitting my measurements and was quite surprised by how much that had gone down with my weight. Like that was a significant drop. And I was quite surprised myself by that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. We didn't do your measurements until later on. And when you did your measurements, the amount of centimeters you lost all over the body was very impressive and way bigger than what scales were showing. And that's why, I don't always like just using the scales as a tool. Like scales are good to see, photos good to see, and measurements, all of them combined can give you a better picture on what actually happening. And your one, and what actually made me realize as well, because your scales were kind of lacking behind compared to like the pictures and the centimeters, it made me realize that you're still retaining water quite a bit. And so we really had to look at the foods, what you're actually having still that might need adjustments. But at the end of the day, you already implemented such a huge changes, putting more restrictions or pressure would not make it better. Like you have to kind of implement some changes and then live with it. And when you're ready to implement more, that's when you can start going, okay, what else can I implement to have a bigger impact on how I feel and how I look and how I move and things like that. So, and you've got surgery coming up on your knee soon, right?
Yeah.
So I can't remember what's the number. Like there's a different places say different things. It's like when you lose a kilo off your knee, some places say it's a 3.5 kilos. Somebody says it's 4 kilos. So like if you lost 10 kilos, then it's like 30 kilos or even 40 kilos of
Mm.
pressure coming off your knee.
Yeah.
So it's how
Yeah.
much easier your recovery from the knee surgery is going to be as well.
Yeah, yeah. More recently noticed that, and I'm just, in a really good place, for the surgery coming up in, less than 2 weeks now. So,
Kind of exciting, kind of scary, but exciting. So, what is the biggest challenge? Like, what was the hardest part of this journey for you? And how did you push through that?
well, interesting. My husband was like, I've never seen you so dedicated to something. Like, he was like, I didn't recognize you. And so, like, I'm not sure where it came from, but I think having you as a coach and knowing you were monitoring me is looking at everything I eat, like, having all that just meant I was determined to make it work, like make sure that I was planning, but I think it helped, having the set calories, like I really like numbers. So it was quite good to go, okay, how's my macros looking like, and you being able to do that because I haven't a clue of what I should be doing in that area.
Yeah.
ensuring that I've got enough protein, in my diet. I'm having it every week. I was probably not having any protein until dinner. So it was quite a big switch. And I think also that mindless eating, just not thinking in this afternoon, like a bag of chips, a whole big bag or a chocolate, like it would be gone and, I wouldn't even have realized it. So, that was quite a big shift. It's not that planning my food, having protein, throughout the day. And yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you had Easter. How was
Mm.
that? Did you have chocolate? Did you have Easter buns?
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
bites of buns, but like I'm a baker. I make a lot of stuff for myself. My husband made hot cross buns this year, and I was very good and had like a bite or so. So I think it's in moderation, right? It's making
Yeah.
sure it's workable and that it's not so tough that when off the program that it can still make it work. It's realistic, and I'm not depriving myself of anything. So I think it's all about sort of balance, a little bit of chocolate here and there, but, being mindful of that, watching what that impact has and being mindful of as well.
Yeah. So, what are the things that you're going to take away from it? Like, what do you think you've implemented that you're just going to live your life like this? Is there anything that really kind of settle in and you go, okay, well, now I know I just have to do it all the time. Like, this is the thing I'm going to do all the time.
Yeah, I think weighing regularly, I think is good because it keeps you in check of where you're sort of sitting. Like I
Yeah.
so big about weight, but I think it's quite good, like, with
Accountability.
yeah, looking at it every day. But, I think it's quite good to see the impact of what food has on me. And I think definitely the protein, like, I mean, it just means I'm not snacking in the afternoon. I'm feeling full, balancing all that. I think that's been really, really important to just feel full throughout the day. And so it's that planning as food and your meals and yeah, just sort of knowing what I'm eating. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And what about alcohol?
Yeah, so alcohol's never been a huge thing, but I definitely used to drink, and have good gatherings with my friends and we'd drink quite a bit and all that. So during this program, I pulled that back quite a lot. And then for Lent, I went 40 days without food, so without alcohol. And so that's not a big thing for me. And then as I've finished, like a glass here and there, but I think I'm also more conscious of how much I'm drinking and what I'm drinking. Like,
And
I
how it
probably,
makes you feel.
yeah, it's okay, and but it's balance,
Yeah.
it's balancing that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, in the future, you don't have to weigh yourself every day. I do. I don't know. Now, it's just a habit that I have. Like, every morning I get up and stand on scales. And I look at the scales as not reflection of who I am or me as a person or if I'm worthy or whatever. I just look at it and go, okay, whatever I ate yesterday, what impact did it do to my body? Or normally my weight goes up if I sleep less. Like, honestly, every single time, if I don't sleep 8 hours, if it's 6 or 5, because it does happen sometimes. I stand on scales in the morning. I don't even know why I still do it. And I'm always heavier. I'm always heavier. And I'm like, why did I even just do it? It's like a check to make sure that maybe you should sleep more. Or some foods, I'll eat something and then I know the next day my weight will be heavier and I jump on it and it is heavier. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, this is just like a confirmation that my body doesn't like it, or for some reason it didn't digest, or maybe there's inflammation or some sort of reaction. Yeah, so you don't have to weigh yourself every day. Like, you can do it weekly or whatever, but I find that it's a good accountability. And for me, if I go away on holidays or if I have a few, like Easter, Christmas, or whatever, I jump on scales and I go, okay, weight's gone up, cool. Now I'm gonna track my food for a week or two just to get back on track, keeping myself accountable, and then go back to eating 80/20, where 80% of the time you eat what you're supposed to, and then 20% of the time you have treats and you enjoy dinners out and catch up with friends. And, if you have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine, whatever. So that's
Mm.
all good. So for other women, what advice would you give them? Like, where would you suggest for them to get started if they like, let's say they don't want to get a coach, they don't want to get any advice. What would you recommend they start on?
Yeah. I think knowing your calories, like what you should be having, and I mean, like, I think a lot of people are under, like, their calorie
Yeah, you were
they
under eating.
Mhm.
Yes.
for eating. And so I think if you sort of start logging your food, we use my Fitness Pal, just actually realizing how much you're eating and whether you are having the right amount of calories.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I think that's quite good. The other thing, like, I mean, why the program worked for me is that I didn't want food off the shelf, like meal plans and things like that. Like, I've got some fussiness, my kids, I didn't want something that was just, means extra work for me. Like, I wanted to
Yeah.
do one meal for dinner for everyone, like couple adjustments, but, I
Yeah.
want to make it easy enough for me. So it's not extra work. I'm not making multiple meals. So, I think being able to tailor that. But yeah, I definitely think, knowing what you should be eating, and at least try to
Yeah.
see what that impact is, by using the weigh-ins every day, and seeing how that goes for you, and feeling within yourself the energy and how food makes you feel. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on podcast and sharing your story and sharing your experience. Really appreciate that. It's very valuable. And I'm sure it will be very inspiring for some other women that are in the same place as you. So, yeah, thank you for your time today.
Not a problem. Thank you.
If you have any questions about this podcast or about hormones, weight loss, or just healthier lifestyle, please go to our website at lifehackcoaching.co.nz or feel free to email me directly, Anastasia at lifehackcoaching.co.nz.